Welcome, Sophia. Sophie.
Thank you. It's really, really nice to be here. I was hoping this event was going to be in person, but I'm glad we could all make it online. Could I have the next slide, please? So, I've had my ethical and sustainable brand for nearly 10 years now. And like all great stories, it started off as a love story, but we'll get into that a bit later. I produce luxury alpaca knitwear and living items, and we work with Indigenous artisans in South America, mainly Peru and Ecuador. So, just a little fun fact, I've gone from speaking no Spanish, which is how I need to communicate with my makers, to now being able to sit down at their family tables and talk and connect. And now I run my business in a different language, which was a massive challenge over the last few years. Could I have the next slide, please? So this is just a bit of a visual presentation of some of the items that we produce. Next slide, please. So what I love about what we do is the real impact that it has on people's lives. And I love using Jose's story as an example of this. We met Jose quite a few years ago. It's a bit of a funny story. We were in his hometown of where one of our toy suppliers is, and he was waiting outside the house of our supplier, and he was like, psst, psst. So we walked over to this man, and he started to tell us that he also made toys and he wanted us to come back and see his production. So we went back to his tiny little workshop, which was in one room of his house at the time, and just looked at his work. And when I tell you, this is some of the best quality toys that I've come across in Peru. And right then and there, we put in an order with him and we paid him. It was a small order, but it started off working with him, and we built up over time. But what I love about this and what I find so beautiful is a few years later, his wife shared with us how important that moment was for him, because if he didn't secure any new clients by that week, he was going to quit all of his business. So I visited him after many years of not seeing him because of COVID. And it was so nice to see him last year, and he's built now a thriving business. He has a 4-story workshop and he employs 10 people from the local community, which is really, really important because this is a really small town. And the issue is that a lot of people can't find work, so they have to leave their families and travel hours to the nearest city and live away from home in order to be able to find work. And, you know, in South American culture, all the families are so close and connected. So it just makes a big impact on their lives when they're able to find local employment. Next slide, please. So this is just some of the work that he produces for us. And I wish I could pass these round in the audience today, because they're seriously the softest things you've ever felt. Next slide, please. So I had a bit of an unconventional start to fashion. I would love to say that I started my brand because I was passionate about sustainability. That came later, but it was not the case when I started. I went on a trip to South America in 2014, and that picture on the left there is me at the market that I first touched alpaca. And it's funny, my friend with me there shared with me last year that she remembers my reaction to it. And I was like, oh my God, this is so soft, trying to get my friends to touch it. And they were like, yeah, okay, cool, like whatever. Clearly not as impacted by me. So yeah, this brand really developed out of love for culture, out of love for the warmth of the people that I was meeting, for the music, for the food. And I describe it, it was the first time that I really felt alive. And during that time, I also met my now ex-partner, Renee, who's pictured a few pictures along, who still works in the business with me today. That's a whole other story. But I ended up going to live in Panama instead of starting a full-time job out of university, which my parents absolutely loved. So I started dreaming up this brand when I was living in Panama, and that picture I've included second from the left there is the very view that I had from my first retail job. And I used to sit there after I'd walked into my work and kicked off my shoes, and I was selling clothes, trying to speak a different language. and dreaming up my own brand, because I really wanted to bring these alpaca textiles to my home country. And yeah, I remember calling up my mum one day and I was like, Mum, do you want to start a business together? And to this day, I don't know what made her say yes, but she did. And she's also does a lot of work behind the scenes. Can I have the next slide, please? So the first couple of years, that was just our first shoot there. Can I have the next slide? For the first couple of years, we were just doing pop-ups during winter time. So that was really to test the product and get customers' reactions. And yeah, there was a really, really good response to the product, as I thought there would be. So this sort of gave me the motivation to keep going. Can I have the next slide, please? So yeah, during these years, we were traveling to and from Peru. We started to develop our own designs. We traveled to some of the most small, remote towns to find really incredible artisans that made very, very good quality items. And we just met the most incredible people during these years. Next slide, please. So we've mainly been operating out of a retail store, but yeah, the last few years have really been working on our brand development, our production, and yeah, building a big solid team around us. Next slide, please. Yeah, so really, these people are at the heart of everything that we do, and we've really built a team that aligns with our values. And what I love is the quality, the luxury quality that they produce, but they've still got that artisan made quality to them as well. So yeah, these are the big people behind our brand. Yeah, next slide. So it was really during the first few years of business that I really started to actually learn about the sustainability behind the animal and also the fiber. So I'm guessing most of you are new to this, so I want to give you a little bit of information here. Could I have the next slide, please? So the animal, the alpaca, it doesn't harm the land that it inhabits. So it's got really soft padded feet. It doesn't have hooves. It just nibbles at the grass. It doesn't pull it out from its root systems. It requires a lot less water than other animals. And it comes in 16 natural colors, which is really good because it means that you don't have to dye as much and there's less chemicals. Next slide, please. And yeah, when we're talking about the fiber, it produces a fiber that can really last a lifetime, which is really quite rare these days, as we know, everyone opting for fast fashion. Some alpaca can be pill resistant. It's light, it's breathable, it adapts to your body temperature, because if you think of an alpaca in the mountains, it needs to be kept warm when it's cold outside and vice versa. It is water resistant, fire resistant, no lanolin, it's hypoallergenic, it's soft, it's just an all-round really, really incredible fiber. Next slide, please. So I've just wanted to also touch on the ethics of shearing here, because we've had some vegan communities raise questions about the ethics. And I just wanted to say that alpacas need to be shorn for their health. It is very, very, very important that they're given a haircut once a year, and they have a lot of health consequences if this doesn't happen. So I've seen alpacas that have not had haircuts, and it is not a pretty sight. So the fleece can grow over their eyes. They start not to be able to see. They're not as mobile. Their fleece becomes matted and dirty. They attract lice. They can get skin conditions, and they can struggle to walk because of the weight of their coat. And in extreme cases, this can lead to death. So I'm a yes to shearing, and I'm a yes to ethical shearing. So what does this look like? We work with people that shear their alpacas in springtime, so they're not getting cold during winter. There's 2 to 3 people working on an alpaca at one time, so it keeps the process to a couple of minutes. So the alpaca is in stress for a lot shorter amount of time. and they shear in appliance with a method called the ground restraint method, which helps prevent cuts. If they do get a cut, which is very rare, then they use a natural solution made from a local flower called a gentium violet flower, which helps prevent infections. But yeah, I have personally visited these farms we source from and make sure that they adhere to all ethical animal treatment. Can I have the next slide, please? So we had some vegan organizations wanting to boycott alpaca over one farm that was acting unethically. And I agree that that farm needed to be closed down, but I don't agree on boycotting this whole industry because it could have really catastrophic effects for the indigenous population in Peru because it is, it supports over 82,000 families and 80% of alpaca production is coming from Peru. So it can have a huge impact on local communities. But most farmers, and especially indigenous farmers, their livelihoods are tied with the alpacas. And in their mentality is if they treat the alpacas well, they also benefit. So it's a really nice mutual exchange here where they are taking care of their animals and their animals are taking care of them. So yeah, the problem here is not shearing, it just needs to be done ethically, and that's very important that when we're looking into buying these products that there's some traceability in the supply chain. Next slide, please. So just to move on to a little bit of comparison with another luxury fiber here, because cashmere, we've all heard of cashmere, it's a lot more dominant in the industry. But yeah, I wanted to share with you that alpaca is quite superior when it comes to the sustainability benefits. You've got less pilling, which means more longevity with the item. They consume less natural resources and they can get a greater yield from their coat. So you're producing more for less. Alpacas also come in more natural colors and there's less dyeing and less chemicals used, which is really cool. Next slide, please. So yeah, the point of this is to show you that, when you invest in luxury, it just does not need to sacrifice ethics or sustainability. Next slide, please. But I'm also sick of hearing about luxury brands that take advantage of people in their supply chain. And I don't want to name names, but there is a community in Peru that has been working with one of the world's most luxury brands. I'm talking $1 billion brand here for 30 years, and the community has not been able to progress at all, which I find absolutely despicable. Next slide, please. So this community practically needs to volunteer to herd and shear the animals. In this case, they're working with the vicuña, and the vicuña is the world's most luxury fiber. It's the finest, the softest fiber in the world, and it's very, very, very expensive. So this community pretty much works for this company that sells this fiber for free. Next slide, please. So the graph on the left here, you can see the price per kilo for this fiber, how much it has decreased over the last few years, where we all know the cost of living has increased. And this company has huge profit margins. So I've done some estimates, and I think that this certain jumper that they sell for $9,000, there's a production cost of about $560 there. So we're talking, we're talking huge profit margins. Next slide, please. So yeah, as you've seen, we're more than a fashion brand. We're more than people just selling a product. We have really, really deep meaning behind our pieces. Next slide. So this is they were videos. The guy on the right is using a hand loom, and the woman above is hand knitting. But I just wanted to show you that we're really utilizing these intergenerational crafts. And, the artisans have shared with me that they're really weaving their identities into these pieces. They've shared with me the fears that they have, that their cultures are dying out, their crafts, their languages, their dress. And so we really track down people that are trying to keep these intergenerational crafts alive. And yeah, we're very, very, very passionate about doing this. Next slide, please. So you can see some of the results of the pieces that we create from these methods. And yeah, when you touch them, when you have them, it's just, you can really, really appreciate the quality behind them. Next slide, please. So yeah, we really embody slow fashion through these methods, and through our ethical and sustainable production. I really want to remind people that we're all connected. Like, the way I see it is a circle, and you've got self, other, and the planet, and there's really no separation between us. And what we buy really, it has a real effect on people, and it has a real effect on the earth. Next slide, please. So yeah, we don't need to compromise luxury for ethical and sustainable production. Next slide. Next slide. So how you can get involved if you're interested in getting involved in this sort of production. I've got a QR code you can scan and receive a download about some information. And oh yeah, next slide. When you're getting involved in this sort of production, you know, you're helping Laura at the top right, who wants to keep giving work to her community. She used to have about 50 women that worked in her community, and it's dropped down to about 12 after COVID, because the demand has just decreased, and she can't give work to all of these women anymore. Aurelio at the bottom right, he had to sell a lot of his knitting machines after COVID, and we want to help him buy machines and reestablish his business. And this bigger photo, this community, Suriandino, we want to keep them in their intergenerational craft of hand knitting and out of farm work, so they can really focus on that and support their families with that without having to go into farms. Next slide, please. So yeah, sustainability isn't just a nice to have, and the customer really expects it. And we're going to see consumers making more and more choices based on transparent and sustainable companies in the future. And this can really, you know, diversify your product range, really increase customer satisfaction, drive profits, and just make real impact in the lives of other people. So yeah, if you're seeing how you can get involved, just get in touch. If you've got any questions as well, I absolutely love answering questions, anything at all. Look me up on any of those links there. I've got my website if you want some more information. And yeah, thank you very much for listening. Thank you.